What's up, rock stars? Hey, Matt Vanderbo here. Have you ever sat down to compose a piece of music and find that you don't know how to move from one section to the next without maybe putting some random key change or tempo change or something so bizarre that you move into a section of the music that sounds nothing like the section that came before it? And when you finish, it sounds like you've got two or three completely different pieces of music all wrapped up into one, which means you really got one gigantic piece of garbage. If that's ever happened to you, you are in the right place because I've got a strategy for you that will solve those compositional and arrangement problems super, super easy. It is called the King, Queen, Jack, Ace strategy. You ready for this? Let's go! Okay, so many years ago, it's probably like 8 years ago, I've got this group of composers out here in the Boise, Idaho area that I mentor, and I was teaching this strategy to them, and they came up with the terms King, Queen, Jack, Ace. You'll see why in a second. But I didn't have those. These are not my terms. But I liked it so much that I've shamelessly stolen it from them. But I do have to give credit where credit is due. So this big thanks goes to, I think it was Jeff and Johnny and maybe Brendan and Jeremy and Michael. No last names there to prevent cyber stalking, but you guys know who you are. Thank you for coming up with this label to put on my silly little strategy. Okay, so King, Queen, Jack, Ace. Obviously, what do these things have in common? They're all playing cards, right? Okay, so think of your standard deck of cards in poker or any type of card game. You've got a hierarchy of card power. At the top, you've got an ace, followed by king, followed by queen, followed by jack, okay? Ace being the most powerful all the way down to jack, and then you've got the numbered cards. We're not going to worry about those. Ace, king, queen, jack, okay? Now, flush that for a second. I want you to think of a piece of music, a musical cue for TV shows that might have 4 sections in it, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. I want you to now think of those sections as your king, queen, jack, and your ace. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, just like in cards, our sections are going to have different levels of power and energy. Okay, so in this strategy, king comes first. What does that mean? Well, every piece of music now needs to start with a bang, okay? And I mean all in. There's a lot of reasons for this, and I'll go over this in a video sometime down the road, but the long story short here is that when a music editor who's working on a TV show has their video in front of them and they are going through a pile of music trying to decide what music should go on the show, they are just previewing each song extremely quickly, and they know within probably 1 to 3 seconds whether that piece is useful for them. And the way they know that is it instantly sets a vibe or it instantly captivates their attention. Okay? Which means you essentially have only 1 to 3 seconds to sell your piece to a music editor. Okay? The person whose job it is to put music in the show. This is the last line of defense here. This is the person who will either make you get money or not have you get anything. Okay? That person is the keys to the kingdom, and you only have 1 to 3 seconds to impress them. So the moment they press the spacebar or preview button or whatever, you need to be hitting them with everything. So if we go back and look at our playing cards, a king is the second most powerful card in a deck, okay? And if our first section of music is our king, that means we are coming out guns blazing right out of the opening gate, okay? Maybe there's just a few drum hits, and then you're in. Everything's going, and you're making your musical case from second number 1. If you primarily write songs, then what I'm talking about right now would be the equivalent of a song's chorus, okay? The selling point of a song with lyrics is the chorus, mostly. And that same chorus mentality should be placed in the king section of your musical cue for TV shows. So we start all in, okay? Everything is going. You're making your case right now, okay? Now, the beauty is you only have to compose gosh, 20 to 25 seconds or so of music until you are done with that progression or that passage or whatever. Okay, you get to the end of that progression and hopefully you are ending with an edit point. And if you don't know what an edit point is, then watch this other video. I'll link it below if I can figure out how to do that. So you finish with an edit point. Now you've got probably 16 bars of music. What I want you to do is highlight all of that. Okay, everything that you compose. Use your all function on whatever DAW you use. Highlight everything from beat 1 all the way to the end of bar 16. Highlight it, copy it, and paste it right after the first section, or duplicate it so it just goes right at the end. Okay, now you've got the same section that's running back to back. Well, that's great. We don't want the same section going back to back. We want different sections. And we go back to our cards here. We go from the king to the queen. In terms of card power, queen is less than a king. Okay, so what we want to do now that we've got this section duplicated is we want to start reducing things out of that section. One of the easiest ways to do it is if you had a lead thing going on, just take it out, just delete it. Don't hesitate. Kill your babies here. Boom, delete. You could also simplify your drum parts. If you had a super busy hi-hat going, maybe you reduce it down to eighth notes. If you had auxiliary percussion, some bongos, some shakers, some tambourines, just take them out. Whatever it is that you do, we are simplifying that queen section, or that king. Yes, we are simplifying the queen section so that it is less than the king that came before it. Okay? Now, what I want you to do is copy the queen section, paste it again. This will be our jack. Now, a jack is less than the queen, and so again, we are reducing things out of the arrangement. We've probably already taken the lead out of there, so start taking more stuff out. Maybe you're just leaving drums and bass and a few little sprinkles of other things. Maybe there's some well-timed hits here and there. You can move stuff around so it's not just, carbon copy of what came before, only reduced. You can kind of alter this part a little bit, but the jack is going to be our most sparse section. All right, following the jack, now we go to the ace. And in cards, the ace is the most powerful card in the deck. Now, we already started off guns blazing with our king section. We were already all in back there. So I'm going to go back to the king, copy that, now paste it at the very end after the jack. How do you make something that was already super high energy? How do you make that even more high energy? And it doesn't always have to be energy too. It could just be more power, more emotion. It's just more than the king that came before it. One thing that I like to do is just add an additional percussive element, most likely a tambourine. So if the tambourine was present earlier doing eighth notes, maybe now it's doing 16th notes. Maybe the hi-hat gets a little bit busier. Maybe there's some ghost notes on the snare drum that weren't present back in the king. Another easy way to do it is take your lead, if you had a lead, and let's say if it was on MIDI, just highlight all those notes and jack them up an octave, and you'll see that octave switch just bolsters the energy. There's a lot of different ways to increase the king, and you just have to find one or two of those things, okay? I mean, it doesn't need to be like, we are already at 100%. We just need to be at 105% here. So you don't have to just super elevate everything, but just find a few ways to amplify the king section that weren't there at the beginning, okay? That is the king, queen, jack, ace strategy described verbally. Now let's play some just so you can get an idea. Here's an old piece of mine. Let's just listen to it and see what we got. So we're going to start off with a king. Kind of a hip hop tension thing. Okay, we got to let it play through. You can hear the busy hi-hat. It's got a melody in there, little lead line. Okay, now we're coming up to an edit point right here. And now we're into the queen section. So you can hear that things have been reduced a little bit. The arrangement's just a little more simplified. Okay. giant edit point coming. Now we're into the jack. Things are even more simplified. The lead has been changed a little bit. Okay. And now we're coming back into the final ace section. And everything's back in, things are elevated just a little bit. And from there it runs out to the end. But you can hopefully see how easy this strategy is to employ in your own productions. And it's just a simple matter of copying and pasting sections and then altering the copies of the paste. Okay, so super easy, king, queen, jack, ace. I hope you find that useful, and go forth and make lots of money, baby. Let's go.